All of a sudden, gates appeared, spreading chaos and monsters across the world until hunters were awakened by the system to save humanity. Thanks to these gates, 7 great noble families amassed an absurd amount of power and pretty much took control of everything. Like a true miracle, our guy became the first ever 9-star hunter in history without relying on any constellation. But this immense power made the 7 families see the kid as a gigantic threat to the world order. At this very moment, the eastern capital is in flames, turning into a living hell on earth. Bleeding and lying in the rubble, the kid tries to understand how things got to this point. With its imposing banner raised, the Romanov family makes its presence known on the battlefield. In the midst of the destruction, an old pocket watch starts making a strange ticking sound. Feeling the weight of defeat, our hero looks forward in complete disbelief. Barely conscious, our guy can hardly stay on his knees as the enemy approaches. With hatred in his eyes, the kid curses Dmitri with all his remaining strength. Walking through the flames as if they were nothing, the old man slowly makes his way toward the fallen hunter. With an arrogant smile, Dmitri confesses he never imagined seeing the end of the great Japanese hero here. Half choking on blood, the kid questions the real reason they're trying to take him out. Straight to the point, the old geezer says it's because he doesn't have the protection of the gods and still refused to bow to the noble families. With open arms, the enemy laughs, saying that the stars themselves are calling for our guy's end. After hearing that whole spiel, the immortal king just glares at the old man with blood in his eyes. Totally fuming, our hero mutters that this is all a bunch of nonsense. Pointing his finger, Dmitri accuses the kid of being a heretic necromancer who disrespects the laws of life and death. Right after, the villain summons a powerful divine light, declaring that this is the fundamental difference between them. Struggling to get up, our hero warns that the enemy is celebrating a little too early. Unleashing a sinister blue aura from his hands, the kid announces he's about to show why he's been quiet until now. From deep within the earth, dozens of skeletons begin to crawl out of the shadows. A dark gust of wind quickly sweeps across the entire battlefield. Summoning the field of death, the ultimate art of resurrection creates a giant pillar of dark energy. In the middle of his undead army, the kid explains that this magic uses his own soul as fuel. Surprised by his stubbornness, the old man decides to return the favor by using his strongest attack to obliterate even the kid's soul. Concentrating maximum energy, a colossal golden lightning bolt descends from the sky right into the villain's hand. Facing the ultimate magic of the Eye of Odin, our guy realizes his spell won't be able to take the hit. Without wasting any time, the old geezer unleashes the legendary skill, swallowing everything in its path with a red beam. On impact, the flash of divine magic blinds anyone who is watching the fight. Tearing through the rubble, the clash generates an insane wave of energy. Despite his certain doom, our guy cracks an insane smile, figuring that since he's going down anyway, he might as well try something crazy. Completely in shock, the old man's eyes go wide, not understanding the enemy's reaction. In a swift movement, the MC's bloodied hand grabs that old pocket watch, raising the artifact of Chronos right in the middle of the explosion. The system announces that the activation requirements have been met. In that instant, the gears begin to spin like crazy, announcing that time will be reversed to the past. Like magic, a blinding golden glow activates on the battlefield. Victorious, the kid explains that he used the enemy's own constellation attack to charge the relic. Right after that, the beam of light collides with the watch, creating a rift in space. Desperate, Dmitri screams at the top of his lungs, asking what the immortal king just did. Pulling in all the divine energy, the cracks on the artifact begin to glow intensely. Flipping him the bird, our hero promises that in his next life, he'll bury all 7 families in the trash. With its hands spinning backward at an absurd speed, the face of a giant clock dominates the view. Finally, a flash of white light completely erases the current timeline. Slowly, his vision returns, and the first thing that appears is the fluorescent light of a ceiling. The kid jolts awake, panting in a cold sweat, lying in a bed. Placing a hand on his chest, the kid feels his heart beating a mile a minute, confirming he's alive. Still a bit dazed, our guy looks around, trying to figure out where he ended up. From the look of the simple furniture, he quickly realizes he's back in the exact house he used to live in. From his own bed, our hero stares at his hands, wondering if that crazy stunt actually worked. Just remembering that scumbag Dmitri's betrayal brings the look of hatred right back to his face. Accessing his inventory, the panel confirms that the Chronos watch is broken for good, and time cannot be reversed again. With a sadistic little grin, the hero celebrates that his gamble to steal the enemy's power paid off big time. Just then, the system screen flashes, asking him to choose a suitable class. Reading his own level 1 stats, he notices he's kept his innate trait of mental resistance. In the glowing options, the system offers the paths of martial artist, mage, or cleric. Crossing his arms, the kid remembers that in his past life, he chose to be a mage without a second thought. However, now he knows there's no need to rush into picking a class right away. Quickly putting on his jacket, our guy declares that this time, he'll use his knowledge of the future to get stupidly strong, Leaving the house and heading straight for the city center, his destination is the gigantic hunter market. Inside the fancy shop, a super polite attendant welcomes the new customer. While she's presenting some jewelry, the kid interrupts, asking about the ring of the underworld's darkness. Caught off guard by the bizarre request, the saleswoman takes a frightened step back. Stuttering a bit, the woman warns that the ring carries a terrible curse. Ignoring the warning, the kid pays the fortune and leaves the shop with the black box. Worried, the attendant still remembers making the kid sign a waiver clearing the company of any blame. Opening the box in the middle of the street, our guy laughs to himself, knowing that no one would pay $2 million for a debuff. On the items panel, the system confirms that equipping the jewelry will cause the user to be swallowed by a mental attack. Aware of this artifact's hidden secret, our hero slides the ring onto his finger without hesitation. Immediately, an insane purple aura explodes from his body, engulfing everything around him. With a demonic smile, the kid plans to repel the curse to steal the original summoning power of the Necromancer class. Being pulled into his own mind, the MC falls into an infinite space covered by red clouds. Facing the void, his relaxed expression vanishes, replaced by a deadly serious look. In the middle of the darkness, the giant spiritual figure of that jerk Mitri appears, proving the worst part of the test has begun. Facing the spiritual monster, the kid hears the enemy call him a manipulator of rotten flesh. Right after, the illusion of Dimitri mocks him, asking if a necromancer rejected by the stars really thinks he can win this fight. Without wasting time, the old man forms a giant fist of golden light. Preparing the merciless blow, the enemy warns that even after going back in time, the hero has no chance. Like a meteor, the pillar of energy smashes the ground, declaring that the MC's defeat is absolute. However, a confident smile appears on the kid's face as the system blocks all mental interference. Thanks to his innate trait of a clear mind, his absolute resistance kicks in, effortlessly holding back the attack. Immediately, the villain's illusion shatters like glass, signaling that the ring's trial has been overcome. With his eyes glowing blue, the protagonist reveals that the secret to breaking the curse was simply not to resist it. Enveloped in a gigantic dark aura, the kid declares that if he can't have a constellation's protection, he'll just make his own. At that, the system notifies him that the hidden power has awakened, and the ring's grade has risen from rare to epic. Satisfied with the result, our hero watches the purple jewel glowing in the palm of his hand. Without hesitating for a second, the kid's finger presses the Necromancer class option on the floating screen. At the same time, the panel confirms his choice, showing the sinister skull of the new class. Along with the starter pack, the Guide of Death skill is activated, reducing the mana cost for summons. Excited about his rapid progress, the kid celebrates that his journey has started off on the right foot. Upon opening the status panel, the MC notices he only has 2 skills unlocked at the moment. For level 1, only Raise Undead and Bone Control are available for use. It seems the kid concludes that even with his OP knowledge of the ring, he can't cheat the system's limits. It's clear that following the normal path to level 7 is possible, but reaching the 9-star rank requires more. Outside, the protagonist reflects that becoming a necromancer this early is good, but it still doesn't guarantee absolute victory. With a grim expression, he knows all too well that to crush Dimitri's face, he'll need a monstrous constellation. Catching a direct flight, the kid's next stop is a distant island full of ancient ruins. Disguised as a tourist, the hero arrives at the famous Temple of Kronos, tagging along with a group of visitors. According to local history, several ancient gods lost their light after being defeated by Zeus and the top brass of Olympus. Some titans even quietly accepted defeat to continue existing as minor constellations. Ditching the tour group, the kid sneaks into the secret ruins, stopping in front of a stone altar. With the broken pocket watch in his hands, the kid notes that the artifact's owner had a much worse fate. Raising the relic in the air, the MC declares it's time to have a chat with a fallen deity. Using all his strength, the hero smashes the watch directly onto the stone surface of the ancient altar. At the moment of impact, a golden light blinds the area, activating the artifact's magic. The space-time continuum quickly distorts, causing the pebbles to float in a bizarre whirlwind. Transported to another dimension, the kid lands right in the middle of an abandoned celestial domain. Before a giant stained glass window, a thunderous voice echoes, asking who dares to invade this sanctuary. Keeping his cool, the protagonist just gives a little smirk. From the shadows, the colossal figure of the furious titan emerges, demanding to know who the insolent fool is. Without showing a hint of fear, the hero faces the deity head-on. In a super sarcastic way, the kid sends his regards to the dethroned king of the titans. Fixing his gaze on the tiny human, the ancient god narrows his eyes with pure hatred. To prove his point, the MC casually dangles the pocket watch's chain from his hand. Recognizing his own artifact, the titan asks if it was this cheeky little kid who managed to reverse time. Shrugging, the kid confirms the feat with an air of superiority. Impressed, the giant deduces that the kid must have been a fighting machine in the past and questions why he was awakened. To provoke him, the hero recalls that the god was humiliated and lost everything to Olympus, becoming just a forgotten name. With a sadistic look, our guy gets straight to the point, asking if the old timer doesn't want revenge. Utterly shocked, the fallen deity asks the kid to repeat the absurd proposal. Without beating around the bush, the MC offers a pact where the god becomes his constellation, and in return, gets his perfect revenge. Livid, the Titan explodes in a red aura, finding it an insult that a human thinks he can take on Olympus. With the artifact's chain gripped tight in his hand, the kid prepares for his final argument. Full of confidence, the hero points out that he reached the top of the 9 stars alone, and that Zeus is also on his blacklist. Furthermore, the kid's anger isn't just against the Romanov family, but against all 7 great families on the planet. With a dark laugh, the giant notes that destroying Olympus's hosts would end the gods' influence on Earth. However, the old-timer questions why someone seeking divine power would choose the heretical class of Necromancer. With a sly smile, the kid argues that their natures might seem opposite if you only look at the god of time, but the protagonist's masterstroke is to focus on the Titan's other face, who is also known as the god of the harvest. Historically, the harvest scythe is the same symbol as the Grim Reaper, directly linking it to necromancy. Feeling his pride wounded, the Titan roars, telling the human to get off his high horse and not compare his divine light to death. Furious, the god releases an absurd pressure that causes the temple pillars to start cracking in half. Planting his feet firmly on the ground to avoid being blown away, the MC shouts that this is no time to be picky. Shoving the truth in his face, the hero asks if the giant prefers to spend eternity rotting away, nameless and powerless. In a very aggressive tone, the kid warns that if the god wants to keep being a failed coward, the choice is his. With his finger pointed, the hero makes the final invitation for them to reclaim their power together and destroy everything. Inside, the kid is sweating bullets, knowing that if this bluff fails, his second life ends right here. After a moment of tense silence, the colossal deity lets out a slight laugh. With his hand outstretched, the Titan confesses he never forgot his revenge and decides to test the kid's strength. Along with a sphere of energy, the giant warns that corrupting a god's nature will cause indescribable pain. Focusing on the protagonist's chest, the old timer promises to become his constellation only if he can handle it. Suddenly, the entire temple glows and celestial bells begin to ring like crazy. Caught completely by surprise, the kid panics, asking if the deadly trial is starting right now. Without warning, the divine light crushes the kid as the god's voice officially proclaims him as his saint. In shock, the hero can't believe he skipped straight to the highest rank of a divine representative. With all that sacred power flooding his body, the protagonist becomes a pillar of incandescent light. The worst part is that his dark necromancer aura brutally conflicts with the divine energy, tearing the kid apart from the inside. On the verge of passing out, the MC fights not to fall, knowing that if he blacks out, he loses the constellation forever. From above, the god of time waits patiently to see if the cheeky human will survive the suicidal fusion. In hellish pain, the kid's body glows intensely, merging the two divine and dark energies. With his teeth clenched, our hero murmurs to himself that he has to endure this at all costs. Back in civilization, heavy footsteps drag a suitcase down an airport corridor. At a calm pace, the kid finally breathes the air of his homeland. With a smile of relief, the MC comments on how Japan is the best place in the world. Without warning, a miniature version of the Titan floats beside him, admiring the changes of the modern world. Flying through the air, the god observes the local technology, calling the flow of time magnificent and cruel. Soon, the system announces that a new star has appeared in the pantheon while the old timer strikes up a conversation with his contractor. A bit annoyed, the protagonist throws it in his face that the god is acting pretty snobbish for someone who can't even grant blessings. Despite the lack of followers, the hero notices that the Titan seems extremely happy just to have been revived. To reclaim their former glory, they'll need to build Kronos' reputation from scratch using the concept of a soul reaper. From the mini-deity's excitement, it's clear that coming back from eternity is already a huge win. Complaining about the work it took to turn the kid into a saint, the old man demands they spread his name as quickly as possible. Looking at his own status, the kid still finds it surreal that he became a priest as a necromancer. As the ultimate prize, the panel reveals the title of Saint of the White Knight, allowing him to mix holy and necromantic magic without penalties. Checking his spells, the kid discovers the Life Drain ability, which sucks the life energy from enemies. The union of light and dark forces creates a ridiculously OP purple and gold aura in his hands. In shock, the kid realizes that using divine and dark spells at the same time completely breaks the system's rules. Laughing as he floats, the Titan brags that he had it all planned, being the former king of the gods. With a hand on his chin, our hero already starts plotting the next step of his power journey. Keeping a smile on his face, he decides that the gate in the Furuzuka region is the ideal choice for now. Known as the Elder Garden, the place is full of weak monsters, perfect for testing his new skills. Right in the middle of the sidewalk, a huge blue rift stands out, connecting dimensions and drawing attention. Being a fixed, level 1 gate, the system has very low entry requirements for newbies. Arriving in front of the dimensional barrier, the kid watches the bustling activity of other hunters. Around the rift, several inexperienced hunters are shouting, looking for partners to form exploration teams. Ignoring the noise, our hero walks silently through the crowd, focused on his goal. Without warning, a more experienced hunter approaches the MC, inviting the kid to join their group. Politely declining the offer, the kid says he prefers to work alone and heads straight for the portal. Left behind, the team members are dumbfounded, watching the newbie enter the dungeon on his own. Worried, the hunters comment that the kid looks too weak to solo the dungeon. Immediately, the leader cuts them off, telling the team to focus on their mission since the newbie refused their help. Far away, the protagonist cracks his knuckles, excited to put his new power to the test without anyone getting in the way. After crossing the barrier, the landscape abruptly changes to a dense, brightly lit forest. Taking a leisurely stroll through the woods, the kid notices the suspicious silence that fills the air. From the rustling in the branches, he knows very well that this is the classic time for a monster ambush. A wicked smile on his face, our hero already senses his first prey approaching. From high in the trees, a shadow leaps at high speed, aiming right for the MC's head. With a rusty dagger in hand, a hideous goblin tries to slice the kid's skull open in a surprise attack. With a perfect reflex, the kid dodges the blow by simply leaning back calmly. Splattered face, first on the ground, the creature grunts in hatred and quickly turns to attack again. Invoking the trait of the White Knight, our hero grabs the monster's face, thanking it for the voluntary sacrifice. Draining all the beast's life force, the life drain spell kicks in, emptying the enemy's body. Feeling the magic flow, the kid comments that the sensation of mixing spiritual and holy power feels quite natural. In a few seconds, the poor monster loses all its strength, becoming just a dry husk that falls to the ground. Enveloped in a dark, greenish aura, the MC's body absorbs all the essence of the slain creature. Notifications pop up on the screen, announcing that the kid's base stats have increased immediately after the kill. Totally impressed, the hero realizes he can farm infinite stat points just by draining enemies in the dungeon. By his mental calculations, he concludes that taking out about 25 goblins will be enough to gain a whole level. Out of nowhere, the miniature titan reappears on the kid's shoulder, observing the carnage. Laughing, the god asks if his contractor enjoyed the power, and the kid agrees, stating it's absurd. Full of pride, the old-timer demands to be praised, and the MC mentally admits the skill is totally broken. Focused on the dry husk on the ground, our hero realizes he has the perfect raw material for his main class. Concentrating a ghostly green magic in his hand, the Necromancer declares that the real fun is about to begin. Injecting the power directly into the corpse, the energy of death spreads through the monster's dry veins. With a devilish smile, the kid commands the Raise Undead spell out loud. Answering the call of darkness, the creature's fingers begin to twitch violently on the grass. With a macabre snap, the goblin's body rises from the ground, surrounded by the flames of death. Completely submissive, the new zombie lackey stands right behind its master, awaiting its first order. On the panel, the system confirms the creation was a complete success, retaining almost 100% of the beast's original stats. Detailing the new undead race, the status screen shows the rank of the kid's first summon. Satisfied with the result, the kid is sure that this servant is already enough to speed up the work in the Elder Garden. Deeper in the forest, the sinister duo doesn't take long to find new targets patrolling the area. Suddenly, a trio of armed goblins emerges from the bushes, blocking the path, ready to kill. Without backing down an inch, the protagonist and his lackey face the enemy's head, on without any sign of fear. Seizing the chance for a heavy combat test, the kid shouts the attack order to his monster. Launching forward like a missile, the zombie brutally charges its former kin. Without any mercy, the undead sinks its teeth into the first target's neck, sending blood flying everywhere. Desperate for its own life, the goblin stabs the invader's back, trying to break free from the fatal embrace. Feeling no pain, the lackey continues the massacre, furiously tearing the enemy's flesh apart. Watching the gruesome scene, the kid mocks the monster's desperation, warning them that stabbing vital points doesn't work on the dead. Furious over his ally's death, another little monster swings a club, trying to smash the summon's head. Before the blow connects, the hero activates Life Drain from a distance, reminding the critters not to forget about him. Drained to the last drop of life, the enemy drops dead on the grass, completely paralyzed. Surrounded by its bloodthirsty zombie companion, the last surviving goblin stares at the kid, trembling with pure terror. In a panic, the last goblin runs for its life, only to come face to face with the zombie's claws. With a clear path, our hero decides to test if Life Drain also works on corpses, emptying the monster's husk. Totally satisfied with the magic's versatility, the kid feels his stats increase once again. With a malicious look in his eyes, the hero announces it's time to pick up the pace of the hunt in the dungeon. In the old days, Necromancer masters taught that after defeating the first enemy, half the work was already done. Following this golden rule, the kid looks at the dry corpses, knowing exactly what to do next. Quickly, the Raise Undead spell echoes through the forest, bringing more minions from hell back to life. On the system panel, Notifications confirm that the 4 new zombies have retained almost 100% of their strength. Maintaining his sadistic pose, the kid asserts that this is the true essence of his broken class. In the hero's view, there's no better feeling than kicking back and watching his army do the dirty work. Like a true plague, the undead run over any goblin that dares to cross their path. In a brutal scene, one of the minions shoves its hand into a living monster's back, furiously tearing its flesh. Giving them no chance to defend, the summons grab their victims by the neck, crushing everything in their way. Perplexed by their own massacre, the goblins can barely process that they're being hunted by the dead. In a bloodbath, the zombies slice and dice the entire mob in a matter of seconds. Watching the carnage from the back, the miniature titan grumbles, telling his contractor to fight with more dignity. Not giving a damn, the kid raises his hands, covered in a green aura, and replies that the old man will have to get used to the Necromancer style. After the slaughter, the system beeps, announcing that the maximum limit of 20 controllable undead has been reached. Facing his newly formed army, the kid slowly closes his fingers, feeling the weight of his new, absolute power. Enveloped by the energy of death, the 20 goblin zombies prepare to follow their master toward the next slaughter. In the blink of an eye, the entire horde dashes off, running frantically towards a group of targets further ahead. There, in the middle of the clearing, a squad of hunters is already fighting another wave of monsters, trying to survive. In the midst of the frenetic combat, a skilled archer fires flaming arrows, blowing up goblins across the scene. Because of the ambush, the monsters start to pressure the humans, and one of them is almost sliced in half. Reining in his army, the MC orders his summons to stop, observing the group he just encountered. Noticing the movement in the forest, the kid crosses his arms and asks the mysterious duo to step out of the shadows. From the hidden bushes, a heavy boot steps onto the ground, giving away the onlooker's location. With a suspicious look, the leader of the newbie trio asks who the heck the kid controlling so many monsters is. Beside the hero, the titan just sighs in boredom as the kid focuses on the duo that just revealed themselves. Racking his memory, the kid soon recognizes the trackers, mentally calling them the Shadow Twins. Seething with rage, our hero remembers perfectly that these two tried to assassinate him in his past life. Known in the future as Yuma and Rendo, the famous sniper duo was one of the biggest pains in our hero's side. Hiding his anger, the kid rests his hand on his chin, pondering that back then, they were just one-star hunters. By the MC's logic, the brothers are still weak and would have no personal reason to hunt him down this early. Coldly, the kid considers the possibility of eliminating them both right there in the forest to avoid future problems. Startled by the tense atmosphere, the newbie team leader points at a zombie, asking if the kid is controlling the creature. Disguising his intentions, the MC puts a finger to his face, casually confirming that the Necromancer class isn't well known at level 1. With the bizarre army right behind him, the hero simply says that those ugly things are his personal summons. Without losing focus on his real goal, the kid casts a furtive glance at the number of bodies on the ground. Thinking quickly, our hero concludes that since these guys became hunters for money, they would make great baggage carriers. Testing the waters, the kid directly proposes a partnership, asking if the group wants to work with him. Without beating around the bush, the MC explains that he defeats the monsters alone while the team gathers the magic stones, guaranteeing them easy cash. With his arms crossed, the newbie leader ponders the unusual proposal from the Necromancer kid. Off to the side, the sniper brother whispers to the big guy that you can't trust someone with such a murderous vibe. Shaking like a leaf, the girl in the group agrees with the sniper, finding the idea of walking around with zombie monsters terrifying. With a cynical little smile, the kid notices that the team's discussion is leaning towards refusal. Aware of the risk, the big guy quickly shouts that he agrees to the partnership, to the surprise of the rest of the team. However, the leader demands a fair split, suggesting a 50-50 deal instead of the proposed 20%. Knowing he was being too generous, the kid shoots down the counteroffer, warning that they either take the 20% or he's leaving alone. Completely desperate, the other members pull on the leader's cloak, asking if they're really going to work with the weirdo. Having no patience for amateurs, the big guy tells the team to shut up, arguing that if the newbie wanted to kill them, they'd already be dead. With the deal sealed, the team starts following the Necromancer master, guided from behind the pack of stinking zombies. Further ahead on the sunny, flower-filled path, the macabre contrast of the army of the dead increasingly frightens the group of hunters. Tired and out of breath, one of the snipers collapses to the ground, begging for a break. Totally exhausted, the other member also sits on the grass, admitting she's at her absolute limit. In a cold sweat, the group leader steps away from the squad, thinking that he knew the kid was strange, but he never imagined this much. In the giant clearing, the horrifying scene of hundreds of piled up corpses shows the level of destruction caused by the summons. Looking annoyed, the protagonist taps a zombie's arm, saying he left some profitable corpses behind in his haste. A bit hesitantly, the big guy suggests giving the team a break, so they can keep up with the insane pace of the hunt. Ignoring the request, the MC digs his fingers into a living goblin, absorbing its life with his holy magic activated. Getting the team's attention, the kid wipes his hands and calls the newbies to continue the collection right there. With a forced friendly face, the hero tells everyone not to rush and to take all the time they need. Sitting on the rocks, the three partners stare at the massacre with pale faces, concluding that the kid is not human. Walking over the piles of sliced up bodies, the kid confirms that he's practically cleared the entire common area of the dungeon. Pulling up the system screen, the hero decides to take a few seconds to check his post-massacre stat progress. Surprised by the speed of his advancement, the chart shows he gained almost 21 vitality points in just 3 hours of farming. Celebrating the absurd feat, the kid realizes that at level 1, his stats are already on par with a level 4 hunter. Closing the status screen, the kid firmly declares that now the total focus is on crushing the area boss. Guiding the team deeper into the forest, a gloomy atmosphere begins to dominate the trees as they advance into the red zone. Arriving at a fog-covered field, the army of 20 undead runs into the enemy's camp base. Right away, a bizarre goblin shaman holding a skull spots the invading horde at the edge of the territory. Laughing heartily, the kid mocks the shaman's ridiculous pose, acting like the king of the hill surrounded by his lackeys. Fearing the worst, the scared girl hides behind the MC, begging him not to provoke the southern chief. Enraged by the mockery, the monster leader grips his staff and shoots a look of pure hatred at the nosy human. Answering the call of fury, the entire goblin battalion charges forward, ready to turn the invaders into mincemeat. With a brutal order, our hero commands the zombies to tear the flesh from the enemy's bones. Without a second thought, the summons pounce on the big monster. In a bloody frenzy, their claws slice through the beast without the slightest mercy. Soon, the system announces that the number of minions has dropped to 19, showing that one of them was destroyed. Calm and cold, the kid simply orders the dead creature to answer his call. Dark magic envelops the remains of the fallen zombie on the forest floor. Resurrected by the shadows, the summon rises again, ready to continue the slaughter. Immediately, the undead horde resumes its assault with full force. Shocked by the scene, the newbie hunters can hardly believe the kid can turn any corpse into an ally. From the top of the hill, the goblin shaman gets up from his throne, shouting in his weird language. With his staff held high, the monster leader invokes an ancestral skill. At the same time, the totem of bravery slams into the ground, inspiring the entire troop. Buffed by the magic, the goblins get red eyes and charge ahead, ignoring their fear. Full of swagger, the chief boasts that his spell guarantees the mob's absolute victory. But before he can finish his sentence, the shaman notices a sneaky zombie right behind him, holding a skull. Confused, the monster turns to the side, trying to understand the macabre presence behind him. Furious, the shaman roars with hatred upon seeing that some cheeky human destroyed his precious totem. Pounding the ground, the chief prepares to retaliate with his magic weapon. In a suicidal charge, the buffed goblins advance, cutting down everything in their path. Acting as human shields, the undead step in front, blocking the enemy attacks. Filled with rage, the dungeon leader grips the handle of his staff, gritting his teeth. With that same mocking smile, the MC asks if the old monster is getting frustrated. Consumed by fury, the shaman focuses all his mana into the skull on his weapon. Screaming, the chief invokes the incarnation of madness, activating an insane area of effect curse. In the back, the newbie team cowers in fear, feeling the pressure of the overwhelming spell. Overtaken by the power, the goblins receive an extra 50 stat points and enter an absolute berserk state. With their strength tripled, the little monsters tear apart the first zombie, bringing the minion count down. In the blink of an eye, the insane horde destroys more soldiers, dropping the limit to 15. Pinned to the ground, another undead turns to dust, causing the score to drop drastically to 10. Pushed back by the enemy massacre, the kid's army is reduced to just 8 standing warriors. With a quick calculation, the kid concludes that the skull staff is the enemy's greatest asset. Arrogantly, the shaman shouts that the weapon is made purely from the grudges of dead goblins. Laughing, the kid just confirms that the artifact is made entirely of bone. With a psychopathic look, the MC realizes that victory is already guaranteed. Getting straight to the point, the hero activates the bone control magic, focusing on the chief's hand. Caught completely by surprise, the shaman gets a bizarre shock as the weapon comes to life on its own. Without any resistance, the staff leaps from the monster's hand, flying through the air. On reflex, the protagonist grabs the item and instantly interrupts the curse of madness. In an absolute panic, the goblin chief stammers, wanting to know what kind of cheap trick that was. With the magic cancelled, the goblins suffer severe penalty, losing 30 stat points and becoming useless. Terrified, the former king of the hill doesn't know what to do empty-handed. With the bone in hand, the MC lets out a taunt, asking why the monster doesn't cast the curse again. From the system panel, it's clear that the bone manipulation skill served as the perfect counter for the fight. Just for kicks, the kid comments that the grudges stuck to the skull even helped pull the weapon over faster. Full of cynicism, the kid tosses the staff behind him, announcing that the game has lost its fun. To end it all, the kid launches a macabre shadow straight at the shaman's chest. Completely paralyzed, the big monster can only widen its red eyes before the final impact. Hit dead on, the goblin leader collapses to his knees, utterly defeated. With no strength to fight back, the creature falls face first onto the grass, awaiting the finishing blow. With his foot on the chief's back, the kid activates Life Drain, emptying the Pre's essence. Satisfied with the loot, the hero sees his agility, strength, and mana stats skyrocket since it was a boss. With a heavy sigh, the protagonist realizes he made a small strategic error in his excitement. As cool as a cucumber, he turns his back and walks back to the newbie team. According to Necromancy rules, he needed to collect fresh blood but ended up drying out the body too quickly. Disappointed with the almost empty vial, the MC grumbles that he ruined the collection by sucking all the life out of the creature. Facing the big guy, the kid dumps the responsibility on them, saying the cleanup is on the team. Faced with a literal mountain of sliced up corpses, the newbies swallow hard at the prospect of slave labor. With the mission complete, the scene cuts back to the giant buildings of the big city. Step by step, the kid's footwear marks his safe return to the civilized world. Outside the dimensional rift, our hero emerges from the dungeon unscathed, as if he'd just taken a morning walk. Right behind the kid, the newbies can barely take a step, carrying backpacks ridiculously stuffed with magic stones. Outside, the crowd is in shock, unable to believe that just 4 newbies farmed so much loot in one dungeon run. Happy with the result, the kid suggests selling everything at once to a famous merchant nearby. Intending to help, the big guy refuses, saying they'll haggle themselves to ensure the best profit for their boss. With an intimidating look, our hero jokes that you can't trust millions in the hands of people you just met. Almost crying from exhaustion, the big guy tries to argue until the kid says he was just messing with them. Crunching the numbers, the team leader estimates that the total profit from the raid will easily hit the 6 million mark. Straight from his inventory, the hero pulls out the sacred loot and reveals the chief's skull staff. With the weapon in hand, the MC announces that, unfortunately, this cursed piece is worth almost nothing on the street market. According to the system screen, the restriction says only clerics can equip the item, which totally tanks its commercial value. Without losing his cool, the kid explains that normal clerics can't manipulate the spiritual power required by the staff. Out of the blue, the kid simply declares that he'll keep the bizarre weapon for his own use. Focused on the money, the hero tells the leader to deduct the staff's value from the final cash split. Immediately, the big guy says they never would have survived and collected so much loot without him, so they won't charge a cent for the weapon. Without complaining, the twins agree with their leader, leaving the epic artifact in the protagonist's hands for free. Outside the rift, the kid mentally admits that he enjoyed working with that knave team. In a friendly tone, he says goodbye and suggests another dungeon dive together the next day. Time passes quickly, cutting straight to the start of a new morning journey. Back in the Elder Garden, the system panel confirms entry into the Level 1 portal. Without missing a beat, the protagonist's summon sinks its claws into the neck of the first monster of the day. With a cold gaze, the hero notices that the newbie group is already hitting their limit of exhaustion very early. Surrounded by corpses, the team leader falls to his knees on the ground, begging for a moment to breathe. Completely out of breath, the big guy says he can't take another step in the dungeon. Pointing to the backpacks packed to the brim, he argues that they've run out of space for loot. Satisfied with the haul, the MC dismisses the team, telling everyone to head back to base with the day's profits. Alone in the forest, the kid faces the floating titan, who asks the real reason he sent the crew away early. With the staff in hand, the kid explains that he needs absolute privacy for what he's about to do next. Walking towards the northern part of the map, he enters the darkest section of the Elder Garden. Near a muddy river, the dense vegetation hides the real dangers of that unexplored region. Suddenly, a figure leaps from the murky water, splashing mud all over the Necromancer kid. Immediately, MC backs away as a trio of bizarre frogmen land, surrounding the area. With a war cry, the band of mutant frogs charges forward, spears in hand, ready to pierce the invaders. In a quick dodge, the goblin lackey evades the first blow, the enemy's weapon grazing its face. On the other side, a big frog with red eyes aims straight for the summon's blind spot. Fatally struck, the spear pierces the zombie's chest, destroying the poor little monster's empty shell. On the system panel, the count of living minions plummets from 20 to 18 in the blink of an eye. Outnumbered, the undead struggle to hold back the coordinated attack of the new aquatic threat. Coldly analyzing the scene, the kid concludes that these frogmen have far superior stats to the goblins. Straight to the point, the kid activates potion control, firing a jet of dark magic at the creatures. Hit square in the face by the cursed energy, one of the monsters freezes, feeling the staff's overwhelming power. Soon after, a shower of macabre oil drenches the enemies, drastically reducing their physical defense. With clenched teeth, the hero concentrates his aura to end the fight quickly. Going in for a direct brawl, the MC punches the nearest frogman, caving its face in on impact. Next, the bone staff shatters another monster's skull with piercing damage, buffed by the spiritual spell. Completely unscathed, the kid lands smoothly on the grass, observing the pools of blood splattered on the ground. Without losing momentum, he extends his hand, using bone control to pull over the slain carcasses. Focused on efficiency, the hero notes that maintaining the horde with goblin minions is already consuming too much mana for no reason. On the screen, the Raise Undead option glows brightly, sucking up 35% of his remaining spiritual power. Despite the high cost, the kid smiles devilishly, certain he can handle it without any problems. Under the master's orders, the Frogman corpses contort and rise, their eyes glowing green. Immediately after the resurrection, a notification pops up confirming the protagonist has leveled up to 6. Excited by his accelerated progress, he calculates that he'll soon reach the ultimate form he had before the regression. Consumed by determination, the dark image of Dimitri flashes through the kid's mind, rekindling his mortal hatred. Subsequently, the scene cuts to the ancient stone ruins in the hidden center of the Elder Garden. Arriving at the destroyed structures, the zombie army follows the kid as he carefully investigates the area. With his hand stained with black blood, he firmly holds the pulsating heart of the recently slain frog chief. Curious about the ritual, the miniature god of time floats by, asking what the master plans to do now. Highly focused, the kid asks for silence and begins to drip blood from the goblin shaman right onto the heart. At that moment, the unholy combination makes the bizarre organ emit green smoke, melting in the kid's hands. With a sly smile, the hero watches the macabre alchemical reaction light up the ancient ruins. Immediately, the green light reveals a secret passage in the ground that had remained hidden for years. On the panel, the system congratulates the player for discovering the hidden area and triggers the dimensional transfer. In a flash of light, the scenery changes from the flowery woods to a gigantic coliseum, gladiator style. Cautiously, the kid takes his first step onto the sandy floor of the immense circular arena. Observing the empty stands, the MC comments that before the regression, his low level wouldn't have even let him get close to this place. Suddenly, a colossal gust of wind sweeps through the middle of the arena, forcing the hero and his zombies to retreat. From the sandstorm, a gigantic scaly paw steps firmly on the ground, making the earth tremble. Facing the beast head-on, the kid prepares himself as the smoke slowly begins to clear. Ironically, the system announces the start of the trial, telling the hero to prove his worth to survive. Before him, the imposing figure of a giant draconian flexes its ripped muscles and exudes a murderous aura. Originally, the gods created this insane test only to select the absolute elite among human hunters. Because of this brutal requirement, the entire dragon army sent its strongest soldiers to the Colosseum. Relentlessly, the panel decrees a limit of only 10 minutes of survival against the beast to guarantee any reward. In complete disbelief, the Titan god mocks the protagonist, warning that a level 6 newbie won't last even 10 seconds. Confident as always, the kid laughs off the taunt and assures the old man that it'll be the draconian who won't last the round. Despite his strategic advantage, the MC knows very well that the enemy's strength was balanced for level 1. But it's still a nightmare. Furious, the dragon monster cracks its claws on the sandy ground, ready to begin the massacre in the arena. In an unexpected reflex, the kid raises his hand, shouting for the beast to wait a minute before starting the fight. Confused, the draconian freezes mid-charge with comical sweat drops running down its enormous head. Shamelessly, the hero uses the classic anime excuse that the villain has to wait for the hero's transformation sequence before attacking. Taking advantage of the distraction, the kid focuses his magic on the Frogman lackeys, forcing a bizarre mutation. On the system, a message confirms that the poison from the goblin's husk has fused with the zombies, creating the plague zombie class. Impressed, the Titan praises the kid's ability to modify living minions in the middle of a fight without preparation. With his new infected army ready for battle, the Necromancer opens his arms, calling the dragon to the fight. Boiling with rage for being tricked, the monster fixes its blue eyes on the insolent human. In a burst of brute force, the beast deforms the arena floor, leaping directly at the zombie army. Tearing through the wind, the attack's speed is so absurd that the dust can barely keep up with its movement. Protecting their master, the poison frogs jump towards the giant, trying to block its advance. In a deadly embrace, the plague zombies cling to the draconian's body, injecting toxins into the creature's thick skin. Caught completely by surprise, the big monster's eyes go wide as it feels the acid melting its natural armor instantly. Desperate, the dragon stretches its arms, trying to rip off the summons stuck to its body. Without mercy, the protagonist clenches his fist, crushing his own minions in an explosive sacrifice. In the burst, dozens of liters of concentrated poison cover the creature's scales, melting everything. From his devilish smile, the kid explains that he sacrificed the frog's brute force just to focus on a lethal, level 12 acid attribute. Seething in pain, the draconian roars to the sky as its entire body begins to disintegrate under the toxin. Blinded by fury, the beast charges forward, destroying the arena floor in a last desperate attempt to kill the human. In a suicidal rush, the big monster focuses on its target, leaping like a missile straight for the kid's neck, Calmly, with his hands in his pockets, the MC compliments the creature's absurd resistance to the acid. Secretly, the hero injects all his spiritual power into the staff's skull, buffing the item's defenses to the extreme. In a fraction of a second, the kid raises the staff to his face, bracing for the impact of the colossal beast's tons of weight. Impressed, the kid realizes that even with half its strength drained by the poison, the monster is still terrifyingly heavy. Aware of the risk, the Necromancer pulls his arm back and delivers a mana-infused blow directly to the dragon's cracked chest. Completely off balance, the Draconian flies backward, screaming in a mix of hatred and humiliation. Immediately, the MC aims his free hand and casts Bone Control into the air. Without its thick hide to protect it, the magic manipulates the beast's internal structure, breaking its legs from the inside out. Kneeling in the sand, the dragon lets out a sharp cry, feeling its own bones shatter. With the perfect opening, the hero points his finger, commanding the remaining poison zombies to attack without retreat. Cornered, the giant can barely stay on its feet as the green mob crawls over it like ants. Completely enveloped in acidic smoke, the big monster spends its last seconds of life grunting into the void. On its knees, the Draconian slams its giant fist into the Colosseum floor, with no strength left to fight. Completely corroded from the inside out, the legendary warrior turns into a formless mass of scales and poison. Cold and calculating, the kid watches its fall, admitting that the creature had an honorable final fight. On the arena floor, the elite beast of the dragon army dies pathetically, face down in the dirt. Satisfied with the loot, the hero's staff sucks up the dark essence left from the confrontation. Spinning the weapon between his fingers, the protagonist lets out a heavy sigh, celebrating the end of the insane trial. In the empty scene, the kid dusts off his clothes, walking beside the slain giant. Concentrating all his remaining divine and spiritual energy, he launches a holy aura directly at the rotting carcass. On the screen, the life drain magic finishes the collection, and the system announces that the resistance test has been passed. Floating nearby, the miniature titan praises the nearly impossible feat of defeating a draconian using poison tactics. As the ultimate prize, the system awards the Mark of Resistance, an absurd passive that reduces cooldown time and increases mana flow. Staring at the reward, the kid grumbles that the real prize is lying on the ground. Enveloped in mana smoke, the Necromancer declares that a draconian corpse is the most valuable raw material in existence. To process a carcass of this level, the MC puts a hand on his chin, remembering he'll need advanced alchemy tools. Back in the city, the landscape changes to an industrial district full of electrical wires and tightly packed buildings. Standing in front of a dilapidated warehouse, the kid observes the old alchemical lab of a future genius. Sighing with nostalgia, the hero notes that the place is still the same dump it was before his regression. Sneaking in, the strong smell of chemicals makes the kid cough and cover his nose with his sleeve. Inside the lab, a curtain of smoke reveals an unlucky researcher emerging, coughing, from the wreckage of another explosion. With a grin from ear to ear, the kid confirms he's found the right target. Amidst the mess, the blonde alchemist tries to clear the smoke, grumbling about the failed experiment. From the MC's memory, this weirdo will soon become Renya Shintani, the genius creator of Japan's most famous low-cost healing potion. Politely, the kid waves, interrupting the cleanup and getting the messy researcher's attention. Straight to the point, he introduces himself as Ryoga Chinen and shamelessly asks to use the lab's private tools. Surprised and a bit offended, the alchemist's eyebrow twitches as he says the visitor doesn't have to be so rude. Immediately, the hero cuts off the complaint, arguing that he doesn't want help for free and proposes a fair trade. With that intimidating look, the kid hits the nail on the head, saying the researcher is struggling to stabilize his medium healing potion. Caught red-handed, the alchemist stammers in fear, not understanding how a stranger knew about his biggest secret project. Moving along the workbench, the MC grabs a few test tubes and announces he'll prove his worth by fixing the formula. Desperate, the blonde guy pulls his own hair, warning that the mixture is pure chaos and could blow them both up at any second. Ignoring the fit, the kid lays down the truth, saying it would take the genius many years to master alchemy on his own. Without wasting time, the hero grabs a razor from the bench, rolls up his sleeve, and faces the researcher. In a clean, swift motion, the Necromancer slashes his own forearm, opening a deep gash. He quickly pours a green solution he just prepared directly onto the open wound. With a sinister fizz, the liquid reacts with his skin, causing the flesh to smoke and knit itself back together. In a matter of seconds, the cut closes completely, proving the brutal effectiveness of the experimental potion. Utterly dumbfounded, the scientist's eyes go wide, shining at the sight of the instant healing. Focused on the chemistry, the genius holds up the test tube, shouting with joy at finally seeing the formula stabilized. Unable to contain himself, the alchemist shakes the kid's shoulders, wanting to know every detail of the process. A bit uncomfortable with the contact, the MC pushes the blonde guy away, confirming he'd reveal the recipe with no problem. Completely seduced by the advanced alchemy, the researcher begs for the secret, accepting any condition. With his greenish eyes gleaming with malice, the kid extends his hand, offering a deal with the devil. In the agreement, the hero would teach healing potions and advanced recipes, asking only for lifetime use of the workshop's tools. In addition to the knowledge, the Necromancer adds an extra clause, splitting the potion's future profits 60% for him and 40% for the scientist. Swallowing hard, the researcher realizes he's walked straight into a dangerous web, but his scientific pride speaks louder. Smiling at the red test tube, the kid mentally confirms that he's just hooked his newest genius partner. Using mana smoke, the kid activates his inventory, spilling a dark aura across the floor of the cramped workshop. Out of nowhere, the gigantic carcass of the dead draconian slides out of the portal, taking up half the free space in the room. Before his partner's terrified gaze, the kid crosses his arms and explains, as if it were the most normal thing in the world, that he needs to process the corpse for his necromancy. Without waiting for approval, the kid grabs a basin and tells the researcher to stop drooling and come help with the dirty work. Trembling from head to toe, the blonde guy complains that they haven't even signed the contract yet, but he's already being treated like an employee. In a defensive tone, the scientist says he's only lending the space while he considers the business proposal. Over his shoulder, the miniature titan whispers to the kid that the human is just playing hard to get. In his memory of his past life, the protagonist remembers that this scientist was exploited by the country's largest corporation in the recent past. Lamenting the tragic history, the kid recalls that the blonde guy's boss stole all his credit, throwing the researcher to the bottom. Understanding the trauma, the hero finishes by saying he trusts the genius's ability and that he'll soon discover how profitable their union will be. Taunting his partner, the kid holds up an iron ladle, demanding the alchemist prove his worth in practice. Under his glasses, the blonde guy grits his teeth with a furrowed brow, feeling the challenge weigh on his shoulders. Totally focused, the scientist snatches the tool from the kid's hands, muttering that he accepts the test. Sitting comfortably on top of some boxes, the protagonist dictates the instructions, telling him to melt 5 rank F mana stones. Instantly, the researcher finishes the mixture, showing the bubbling flask to the kid, who praises his speed. Impressed by the blonde's natural talent, the necromancer smirks, planning how to use all this skill. Carefully, he pours the newly created crystalline liquid directly into the crevices of the draconian's bone armor. With purple magic glowing in his hands, the MC explains that he's going to carve formulas onto the scales and imbue them with curses. Explaining the theory, the kid states that overlapping enchantments is the ultimate key to buffing a summon. At a frantic pace, the duo repeats the process over and over, as if they've worked together their whole lives. Drenched in sweat, the exhausted alchemist shouts as he pours more solutions into flasks while the kid demands more. Finally, the kid finishes the last curse, admiring the purplish glow covering the creature's scales. Stretching his back, the hero celebrates the end of the job, bragging that they finished it all in just 3 days. Completely wiped out, the researcher collapses into a chair, questioning who the heck this crazy kid was. With his hand in his pocket, the protagonist stares at the masterpiece, knowing that even though he's only level 1, he's unreal. Looking at the workbench, the alchemist mentally admits that the kid's magical abilities break all logic. Without any fuss, the MC approaches, suggesting the 60-40 profit split, catching the blonde guy by surprise. Composing himself, the researcher adjusts his tie and accepts the initial proposal without a second thought. Finding it suspiciously easy, the kid asks if he's sure about giving up the bigger piece of the pie so quickly. Sighing heavily, the scientist reveals it would have taken him at least 2 years to finish the potion alone, and the help was worth the price. Hiding his joy, the hero flashes a victorious smile, knowing he hit the jackpot. Shaking his partner's hand, the necromancer ironically says he can't wait to exploit his talent. Focusing on the next step, he knows he urgently needs to find a soul powerful enough to inhabit the modified dragon. In the middle of the silence, a phone rings, breaking the tense atmosphere in the lab. Answering the call from the newbie leader, the kid thanks him for the money transfer from the dungeons, and immediately starts talking about the next job. Far, far away, the dense landscape of an unexplored forest marks the edge of the hunter's safe zone. Pushing through the tall grass, the terrified newbie team arrives at the designated meeting point. With a nod, the MC signals for the crew to follow him down the more overgrown path. Shivering from the cold, the girl in the group asks if it's safe to wander into a forest full of monsters after the portal broke. With a grin from ear to ear, the kid confesses he took advantage of the chaos just to go collect an old debt. Pushing aside the branches in front of him, the kid analyzes the dark clearing with a super serious expression. Right behind him, the team follows in single file, holding their shields and weapons with trembling hands. With a bizarre crash, a heavy footstep smashes the trunk of a fallen tree, splitting the wood in half. Cautiously, the group hides in the shadows, watching the enemy patrol walking down the trail. Paralyzed with panic, the big guy whispers that it's a 2-star orc, begging the kid not to advance. Ignoring the team's warning, the necromancer pulls out his enormous goblin bone staff and steps into the open area. Without hesitation, the kid shouts the bone control magic, focusing all his mana on the weapon. Immediately, the orca's eyes glow blood red, fixing its gaze on the audacious human. With a roar, the beast hurls its giant spear directly at the hero at an absurd speed. Tearing through the wind, the weapon cuts through the air, creating a white trail of dust in its path. Without dodging, the kid simply raises his staff calmly, assessing the strength of the enemy's shot. Using the magic's precision, the hero intercepts the spear with the bone club, deflecting the lethal attack by millimeters. Following the deflection, the staff bats the creature's own weapon back, piercing the orc's shoulder from top to bottom. With a cold expression, the MC notes that he aimed for the heart, but the monster's resistance lessened the damage. Livid, the ogre pulls out a sharp club made of pure bone, growling at the kid's audacity. Bleeding on the ground, the monster gets a running start and charges like a tank to crush its opponent. With its giant hand raised, the beast prepares a deadly blow for the forest floor. In the last millisecond before impact, the kid calmly dodges, letting the fist shatter the earth. In an explosion of mud and rock, the orc's strength creates an absurd crater in the terrain. Seizing the opening, the team raises their shields, blocking the debris while the leader thanks him for the perfect timing. With his eyes glowing an intense blue, the kid decides to stop playing with his inferior opponent. Stretching out his fingers, covered in dark energy, he announces that instead of controlling just one bone, he's going to control 3. Shouting the magic command, the Necromancer focuses on the creature's own ribs, tearing its structure apart from the inside out. In a horror show, the orc's chest explodes, sending blood everywhere as the tips of its bones pierce through its skin. Collapsing lifelessly, the beast's body hits the grass, kicking up dust right in front of the terrified group of hunters. In total shock, the big guy stammers, unable to believe the newbie killed a double-rank monster without breaking a sweat. Dismissing the drama, the MC calls the team to continue their journey, heading even deeper into the woods. Curious, the leader follows the kid, asking if he's sure of the path and reminding him of the person the hero wanted to find. Confirming the suspicion, the kid focuses his gaze on the giant trees of the dark frontier. Right behind the protagonist, the enormous zombified carcass of the recently slain orc walks, swinging its spear in its blood-stained hands. Stopping at the top of the hill, the kid points to the gigantic, fortified orc village, finally revealing the hideout of his old target. The armored warrior eyes him suspiciously and asks if the protagonist is really sure the person they're looking for is in there. Without skipping a beat, our boy confirms the info with the coolest demeanor in the world. Locked on his system panel, which displays the zombie race, the kid explains that their target is hiding out in the orc settlement. With a sly grin, the Necromancer mentions that they can even make some extra cash along the way. A bit awkwardly, the rest of the team lets out a few nervous laughs, going along with their boss's crazy idea. In the late afternoon sky, birds fly peacefully over the dense forest. A gigantic orc brutally collapses, dead in the middle of the tall grass, kicking up a cloud of dust. Behind his new zombie minion, our protag celebrates the system notification announcing he's reached level 13. Next thing you know, the screen announces that the stat limit for this race has been hit as the fresh corpse rots on the grass. Lost in thought, our hero figures it'd be pretty weird if power gains were infinite with no ceiling at all. Satisfied with the day's farm, the kid tells the team the hunt is over for now. In front of the warm bonfire, the kid suggests they set up camp to spend the night safely. The impressed warrior compliments the kid's preparedness, who just points out they're already on day 3 of their trip. Under the light of the full moon, our protag notices his stats have jumped quite a bit and declares that they'll head for the settlement tomorrow. Right away, the leader of the newbies agrees and takes the first watch of the night. Leaving everyone stunned, the Necromancer has his giant orc minions take over guard duty. Bathed in moonlight, the undead beasts stand like creepy statues around the fire. Panicked in their tents, the team members completely lose sleep, terrified by their bizarre guards. Perched on top of a rock by himself, the protagonist soaks in the silence of the starry night. Unleashing his dark aura, the kid decides it's the perfect time to read the newly unlocked hidden knowledge. Instantly transported, the system opens the doors to the colossal library of knowledge of the ancient Death Lords. Carefully, the protag's hand touches the cover of a dark and mysterious tome. Reading the pages, the kid discovers the system has locked most of the content, requiring level 45. Frustrated, our hero realizes that having only 1 star means he'll have to settle for the basic necromancy guide. Letting out a heavy sigh, the kid accepts his fate and decides to focus on the beginner's book anyway. Sitting on the floor of the magical library, our protag dives into his reading, devouring every single word of the manual. Before his very eyes, the tome's pages glow, transferring ancient spells directly into his mind. With his golden eyes glowing intensely, a complete understanding of the magic washes over the kid. As the sun rises over the mountains, the system finally announces that a new skill has been successfully acquired. A bit drowsy back at camp, the rookie shooter lets out a long yawn, stretching his tired body. With little patience, the protagonist tells the kid to get out of bed already. As soon as he opens his eyes, the rookie comes face to face with a monstrous zombie orc staring into his soul. In a desperate leap, the shooter scrambles back, screaming, while our protag complains about him making a scene over something they see every day. From the creature's silhouette, the armored warrior notices the zombie is way bigger and wearing some kind of bone armor. With that proud smirk of his, the kid confesses he made a few modifications to his summons during the night. To everyone's surprise, an entire army of armored zombies, boasting superhuman strength, awaits their orders. Right on the panel, the new spells Bone Armor and Flesh Swarm show off the absurd level of the upgrade. Leading his elite troop, our hero declares it's time to invade the orc settlement once and for all. Tearing across the sky, reddish clouds announce the start of a bloody day. Standing at the edge of the forest, the human team and the undead horde face their final destination. In front of them, the gigantic orc fortress displays its wooden walls and watchtowers. Immediately, an enemy guard sounds the alarm, screaming at the top of his lungs that invaders have arrived. Answering the call, dozens of furious orcs pour out of the main gate, armed with spears. Extending his hand, his eyes glowing green, the Necromancer casts the bone control spell. A macabre blast of energy explodes towards the enemy troops in a flash. With brutal impact, the spell rips through the orcs' bodies and weapons, shattering their front line. Brushing the dust off his jacket, our hero calmly asks the monsters to stop making such a racket. Enraged by this defiance, the tribe's chief raises his red axe and roars, ordering a counterattack. On top of the wall, orc archers ready their giant bows, aiming at the invading group. Under a hail of heavy arrows, the team's warrior charges forward, blocking the projectiles with his magic shield. Taking advantage of the defense, the team's female mage gathers mana and conjures a brilliant fire arrow. Slicing through the air, the flaming projectile flies straight into the center of the enemy army. A direct hit, the magic pierces the big orc's chest, incinerating the monster on the spot. The impressed protagonist praises the girl's skill, predicting the team is going to level up a lot from here on out. With a war cry, our protag commands the final charge, and the two armies collide violently on the field. Directing the attack, our hero orders his armored minion to crush the enemies. With one devastating punch, the zombie unleashes a blast of blue energy that wipes the orcs off the map. Totally satisfied, the kid notes that spending the night reading in the library was worth every second. Completely panicking, the surviving orcs fall back, terrified by the overwhelming strength of the undead. With a psycho look in his eyes, the Necromancer warns in a dark tone that this is just the beginning of the beatdown. Showing no mercy, the armored zombies steamroll the enemies, tearing flesh and shattering swords with brute force. In a desperate attempt to fight back, a brave orc lands a solid hit on one of the summon's defenses. Although the bone armor takes damage, the attack barely tickles the undead minion. Quickly, our hero extends his hand and casts a repair spell to fix the cracks in the defense. With its bones restored, the zombie grabs the enemy's weapon, leaving the orc completely stunned. Switching tactics, the kid summons the crawling flesh spell right on the blood-soaked ground. Like spikes, the cursed pieces of flesh fly out, piercing the backs of the unsuspecting orcs. Screaming in agony, the monsters fall to their knees, completely paralyzed by the flesh spikes. Baffled by the strategy, the leader of the newbies realizes the kid is using their own bodies to trap them. Jaw dropped, the big guy concludes that the rookie's level of control is on another level. Suddenly, a thunderous step makes the earth tremble, silencing the entire battlefield. Stepping out of the shadows, a scar-covered orc chief glares at the invaders, snorting with rage. With its red eyes glowing, the creature enters a state of absolute fury, activating its berserk mode. Right on the screen, the system flashes a red alert, warning that the threat has evolved to a unique danger level. Keeping his arrogant pose, the protagonist just cracks a little smirk, confessing he was getting tired of waiting. With a deafening roar, the orc chief smashes the ground, preparing to pounce. Right on the screen, the system flashes another red alert, warning that the creature has entered berserk mode and become a unique monster. Not hiding his excitement, our protag smirks, confessing that the wait is finally over. Consumed by fury, the huge monster swings its giant axe in the air, letting out a thunderous scream. The Necromancer then extends his hand and conjures his bone control spell. In the blink of an eye, the dark magic whips through the air, creating a wicked impact on the battlefield. From the inside out, the orc's own ribs tear through its chest in a bizarre spray of red. The sharp bones brutally pierce through the chief's thick skin without any mercy. Overcome by absurd pain, the huge monster roars at the sky as its body is torn apart from the inside. In disbelief, the orc clutches the wound, stammering about its shattered bones. In a tone of pure mockery, the kid tells the enemy to stop whining in the middle of a fight. With the spell draining a ton of mana, our hero ironically points out the orc isn't the only one kicking the bucket, so there's no need to be so pessimistic. Shocked by the consumption, the kid notes that controlling six bones uses a lot of energy and decides to pierce its heart in one final blow. Focused on the end goal, our hero unleashes the bone control spell one more time with full force. Immediately, the bone stakes sink even deeper into the creature's chest, consuming almost all of the protagonist's spiritual power. Completely immobilized, the orc chief is lifted into the air by its own bones in a macabre display. At that, the kid takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the insane energy cost. To turn the tables, our hero extends his hand and activates his OP life drain ability. A spiritual aura quickly surrounds the kid, recovering almost all his mana in one go. With his energy restored, the protagonist clenches his fist, ready to finish the slaughter. Wrecked, the huge monster collapses to its knees, too weak to even hold its head up. Terrified by their chief's demise, the other orcs turn tail and scream desperately, trying to flee. With a sinister green glow in his eyes, our protag questions if the cowards really think they're getting away. With a quick spell, the crawling flesh magic sprouts from the ground, grabbing the legs of the fleeing enemies. With no chance to defend themselves, the monsters fall flat on their faces, swallowed by the flesh ambush. All across the field, dozens of orcs are stuck in the traps, looking like insects caught in a web. On the sly, a zombie minion moves in and finishes off an enemy with a brutal strike from behind. In the middle of the bloodbath, the orc chief's body rests with a giant bone skewered through its heart. Shocked by the sea of magic stones on the ground, the newbies try to calculate the fortune they just farmed. Ignoring the small fries, the kid grabs the handle of the boss's axe, announcing that this is the real grand prize. Right on the screen, the system displays the stats of the blood axe, revealing that it amplifies strength by absorbing blood. Satisfied, our hero comments that invading the orc village was worth every drop of sweat. With a firm voice, he passes the responsibility of collecting the loot to the shooter, Yuma. Worried, the archer agrees to grab everything and begs the boss for a break to rest. Step by step, the kid walks away from the team, heading towards the darker parts of the woods. In front of a giant, withered tree, our hero announces out loud that he's finally found what he was looking for. Very casually, he tells the entity hiding there to come out for a friendly chat. Drenched in a deadly silence, the old tree gives no reaction whatsoever. Out of patience, the protagonist lets out a tired sigh and pulls a sharp bone from his inventory. He quickly lights the piece of bone on fire, warning that if the creature wants a fight it'll get. In a rough move, the kid swings the makeshift torch, ready to burn everything down. Out of nowhere, a wicked green aura forms a shield, stopping the blow in its tracks. Responding to the threat, a shadowy, ghostly figure begins to emerge from within the ancient trunk. The furious black spirit demands to know who the intruder is, while our protag mentally grumbles about always having to deal with cocky ghosts. Changing his posture in the blink of an eye, the kid flashes a cynical little smile, saying it's a huge pleasure to meet the entity. Without beating around the bush, our hero reveals the spirit's identity, calling the ghost the magic fighter, Kashiwaji Sora. Stunned by the revelation, the specter trembles with rage, questioning how a brat knows its real name. Full of confidence, the kid recalls that the specter was a hero in the war from 35 years ago, hiding the fact they'd already fought together in the future. The kid then mentions that Japan didn't fall thanks to that sacrifice, and they even erected a stone memorial, so the day would never be forgotten. In a memory of the past, the legend fought on the front lines, combining martial arts and magic with unique skill. After hearing the story, the ghost lets out a sigh of relief, glad to know its brutal end was not in vain. At that, the protag's expression hardens, and he states that unfortunately, not everyone had their name carved into history. Confused, the black spirit tilts its shadow-covered head, not understanding the message. Hitting where it hurts, our hero asks if he remembers the Vice, master of the Arajiri Guild, making the entity instantly boil with rage. Immediately, the scene cuts to a dark memory of a city being completely swallowed by flames. In the middle of the inferno, the Kashiwaji of the past screams desperately into his radio, begging for reinforcements. Worried about the innocent lives, he warns that many civilians are trapped in the agricultural district during the attack. Almost out of hope, the fighter yells his commander's name, pleading for any kind of rescue. Witnessing the slaughter of his partners, the hero reports that he can't hold the front line any longer. Cold and calculating, the leaders respond over the radio, denying support and sealing the fate of everyone there. In shock, the fighter processes the information, realizing his team was used as sacrificial bait from the very beginning. Over the communicator, he exposes the betrayal, accusing the cowards of fleeing to the north while his team bled out in the south. Without a shred of remorse, the commander laughs, confessing he used their lives to buy time for his own escape. Consumed by hatred, the hero concludes the guild lied on purpose, using his sense of justice as a trap. In a disgusting manner, the traitor demands his subordinates stop being so pessimistic and just accept his own demise. Full of ego, the commander declares that the Arajiri Guild will take the glory for the rescue, but only the survivors will tell the tale. Clenching the radio, the coward decrees that if the team perishes, the whole incident just gets swept under the rug. In that same moment, the absurd impact from a monster sends the fighter flying like a rag doll. From high above the clouds, a cataclysmic purple lightning bolt crashes down on the city, wiping the rest of the soldiers off the map. Fallen in the rubble, the warrior's body succumbs to the flames, his life slowly fading on the ravaged earth. Before the final end, the memory reveals the hero screaming for the rest of his team to run and save the civilians. In tears, one of the subordinates refuses to abandon his leader, his tears falling amidst the chaos. With his last breath, the fighter declares that the order is absolute, forcing his friends to flee. Back in the present, the kid throws the truth in the ghost's face, stating that the scumbag who betrayed them became a national hero. For the final nail in the coffin, the protagonist reveals that all the real records of the ghost's bravery were erased from history forever. Putting on a pitiful look, the protagonist says it's a real tragedy for someone to perish saving others and not be able to rest in peace. Absolutely furious, the giant spirit roars, telling the kid to stop beating around the bush and get to the point. With that same confident smile, the kid promises to help the ghost get its long-awaited revenge. Trapped in the shadows, the former hero listens to the tempting proposal, and the kid suggests a contract to turn him into an undead. Blue magic overflows from the Necromancer's hands as he reveals he's already prepared the perfect vessel to house the warrior's soul. Staring at the modified, monstrous draconian carcass, the spirit hesitates for a moment, weighing the offer. Being honest, the ghost confesses that in its current form, it didn't even have enough energy to think about revenge. Floating above the carcass, the entity sets a single condition, demanding that the kid never use this new power to harm the innocent. Other than that, the black spirit accepts the pact, declaring the human can use him as he sees fit. With a victorious little smile, the kid realizes that even in the afterlife, Kashiwaji's pure heart remains exactly the same as it was in his past life. Ironically, our hero quietly comments that all that nobility is truly befitting of a real hero. Bathed in the golden light of the late afternoon, our protag accepts the deal, assuring him he understands the rules. The specter then dives straight towards the corpse, confirming its new life as a summon. At that exact moment, the system flashes on the screen, announcing that ownership of the Earth Spirit, Soku Kashiwaji, has been successfully acquired. Thinking back, the kid recalls that before his regression, he had possessed this hero's soul in a mere skeleton knight. Before his eyes, the draconian carcass comes to life, moving slowly as our protag compliments his own masterpiece. Confused, the newborn monster stares at its own thick, scaled claws, feeling the absurd strength of the modified body. Unable to contain his excitement, the kid points at the status panel, yelling that the thing turned out incredibly OP. On the screen, the system reveals that the dragon inherited the magic fighter trait, allowing it to mix magic and melee with no penalties. Checking his own power, the big lizard grumbles that his current strength is just so and a bit weaker than when he was alive. Intrigued by the comment, the protagonist mentally questions if the incomplete curse method is to blame. Pushing the details aside, the Necromancer smiles, satisfied, stating that for the start of the journey, this level is more than enough. Under the orange sky, the kid turns his back, telling the monster to follow him back to the city. To test its obedience, our hero calls the creature minion for the first time, making the beast freeze up. A bit bothered by the term, the dragon stops walking and grumbles that he didn't really like that nickname. Curious, our protag stops and asks what the big monster's problem is. In a solemn tone, the summon explains that he threw away his old name when he passed and asks for a new, worthy title. Letting out a long sigh, the kid realizes the warrior has become way more problematic and demanding than he was in the past. Wanting to please his partner, our hero tries to think of an intimidating name, but admits he's not very creative with naming things. Throwing out a feeler, the kid suggests Fafnir, from Norse mythology, but the dragon immediately rejects it, finding it too cliché. Without missing a beat, the kid throws out another classic, proposing Orochi, and gets another no to his face. Annoyed by all the fuss, the kid grits his teeth, threatening to beat the snot out of this sassy lizard right then and there. A bit sheepishly, the dragon raises a hand and agrees that Fafnir isn't all that bad. Tired of the debate, our hero declares Fafnir will be the final name and continues down the path. Suddenly, the summon panics and asks his master to wait, complaining that he's walking around practically naked. Looking at the city streets, the monster feels embarrassed by the lack of clothing covering its scales. Immediately, the dragon grabs an old cloth and wraps it around its waist in a quick improvisation. Relieved, he ties the fabric and comments that he feels much better and more decent now. With his improvised loincloth, Fafnir wags his tail and finally follows his master on their walk. Shocked by the scene, the Necromancer just stares at the creature, wondering if this modesty was always the hero's true personality. In the big city, the isolated laboratory glows under the moonlight with suspicious activity inside. Desperate, the blonde alchemist is freaking out because the dragon carcass that was in the tank has vanished into thin air. With a completely deadpan expression, the kid announces he already found the perfect soul and put it in the modified body. Terrified, the scientist shrinks into a corner, asking for permission to punch the monster that's staring at him in the face. Keeping his cool, the protagonist clarifies that Fafnir is not an experiment, but the team's newest partner. In a quick flashback, the team of newbies says goodbye to their boss, letting him know they're heading to Tokyo to organize the farmed items. Back in the lab, our protag activates his inventory, flooding the room with a dark green aura. With a spectral glow, the magic brings out the massive carcass of the orc's chief they took down earlier. Crouching next to the deceased, the kid asks the alchemist what they should do with the big green guy. Immediately, the blonde scientist drops to his knees beside the team, fascinated by the quality of the material. Full of ulterior motives, the kid asks if his partner is curious about analyzing the boss's body. Trembling all over, the alchemist lies through his teeth, saying he has no interest at all, remembering he almost lost his arm mixing herbs. In desperation, the scientist smashes his own equipment with a mortar and pestle, yelling that he can't suppress his researcher's curiosity. Sweating bullets, he stares at the body and admits that the materials the kid brings always exceed any logical expectation. Not losing momentum, our hero casts the flesh separation spell to speed up the process. As the orc's body is stripped of its flesh, the mini titan floats nearby, asking if the kid is planning to create another undead. With a sly little grin, the protagonist replies to the god that you can never have too much firepower in a war. On the system, the status panel pops up, confirming the extracted skeleton's quality is high grade, guaranteeing double stats across the board. Finishing the process, the alchemist hands a vial of green extract to his boss, praising the fine work. Immediately, our hero pours the magic liquid over the bones, triggering the magic that focuses purely on enhancing the creature's defense. With his eyes glowing in approval, the Necromancer declares that the new summon will serve perfectly as his personal bodyguard. Answering death's call, fleshless feet step firmly onto the lab floor. Straight from the underworld, the orc skeleton rises, holding a giant, glowing sword and shield. As his first order, the kid informs the skeletal soldier that its only function is to protect him whenever he uses the life drain ability. Loyal to his master, the armored skull salutes, and the kid praises the minion's impeccable posture. Staring at the masterpiece, the scientist adjusts his glasses and asks the real reason for focusing everything on a purely defensive skeleton. In a teachable moment, the kid explains that unlike normal zombies, skeletons don't decay and can be maintained by magic indefinitely without causing a bad smell. Totally impressed by the logic, the researcher thinks that the rookie is way ahead of his time for worrying about troop maintenance. Without any fuss, the kid announces he needs to leave to handle some urgent business and tells the blondie to take care of the mess. Startled, the alchemist asks where the heck the kid is going in the middle of the night. Walking out of the warehouse, our protag replies in the most natural way that the system has summoned him to the Pantheon to pick up a divine spell. In complete shock, the scientist's jaw drops, unable to believe what he just heard. Stammering and completely losing it, the blonde guy yells, questioning how a heretical necromancer is going to get holy magic, and asks if the kid is a priest in disguise. Faced with this meltdown, the skeleton guard just stares at the scene, confused, as the kid turns to leave. With the meanie goddess of death floating on his shoulder, the kid gives a mischievous smile and jokes that he's actually a very fervent devotee. In despair, the alchemist yells that it's absolutely impossible for the world to turn upside down like this, while our protag ironically says that his distrust hurts a little. To change the subject, the kid gets straight to the point and asks if his partner has finished registering the patent for the medium healing potion. Surprised by the quick change, the researcher confirms the review process will begin soon, earning a compliment for his speed. Thoughtfully, the scientist explains that delaying only attracts rivals and laments, that the problem now is advertising, since the official expo only happens next year. With a shrewd smile, the necromancer asks for a few vials, promising to handle the promotion himself at the first opportunity. Without a second thought, the blondie hands the red potion over to the kid, hoping the plan works out. Focused on the glowing vial, our hero declares that if this strategy works, they'll be swimming in rivers of cash very soon. Completely consumed by greed, our protag lets out an evil laugh under a shower of coins, affirming that money is what really makes the world go round. In the corner of the room, the alchemist breaks into a cold sweat, staring at the kid's terrifying aura and wondering if that maniac is really a priest. In a scene cut, the gigantic tower of the Pantheon stands imposing under the moonlight, a landmark that appeared after the Great Cataclysm. Inside, the kid observes the crowd seeking divine spells and notes how this sacred environment is incredibly focused on worldly interests. By our protag's logic, the true materialists are the constellations themselves, demanding rivers of offerings from their blind followers. Walking through the ancient corridors, our hero finds the lack of divine presence in the relics strange and wonders who would leave valuable items just lying on the floor. Out of nowhere, a drop of sweat trickles down the kid's face as he realizes the harsh reality of the physical challenge ahead. Seriously ticked off, the kid glares at the infinite staircase, grumbling that the gods could have at least installed an escalator or an elevator. From the outside, the tower shows its absurd size while our hero complains about the 108 steps required to prove one's devotion. Out of breath, the kid hears the mini deity agree that the climb is cruel and hope they don't get struck by lightning for complaining. Impatient, the floating titan asks how much is left, and the kid dryly replies that they just have to climb the same amount they've already climbed. Upon realizing they're only halfway there, the specter grumbles while the protagonist keeps climbing without stopping. Seething with rage, the Necromancer swears to himself if he doesn't get an absurd reward for all this effort, this tower is going to burn. Finally, the kid's heavy boot lands on the last step, reaching the top of the divine structure. Before our protag's eyes, a colossal hall is revealed, with a magical ceiling projecting an entire universe of constellations. Showing no emotion, our hero watches as the panel beeps frantically, warning that several famous stars are disgusted and suspicious of him. Roaring with laughter, the Titan finds the collective rejection hilarious, while the kid tells the old man to shut up for a second. Tearing through space, the colossal figure of a bearded and imposing god appears, declaring that it is now his turn to evaluate the human. Flooding the room with a crushing energy, the constellation displays all its ancestral power in a flash of light. Pointing its giant finger at our protag, the system officially registers the deity known as the Giant of the Defiant Heavens in the Pantheon. Right after the screen glows, transferring the coveted holy spells, Unholy Blessing, and Wedge of Retribution directly into our hero's arsenal. Full of swagger, the old god brags about the gift he's given, while the kid reads the skill descriptions, confirming the spells are incredibly useful. Completely euphoric, the god lets out a thunderous laugh, thinking he's the most incredible entity in the entire universe. But the joy is short-lived as the system kills the mood, announcing that the deity lacks sufficient power to be a full-fledged constellation. Utterly indignant, the kid reads that the god's light is too faint to attract followers and curses the notification, calling it trash. Despite the buzzkill, our hero cracks a lethal smile, satisfied with the undeniable fact that he's become even more of a monster. Far from there, the sun begins to set, bathing the bustling streets of the big city in orange hues. Step by step, the Necromancer walks calmly down the sidewalk, returning from his exhausting mission. Suddenly, a provocative voice gets his attention, questioning why a loser is coming out of the Pantheon. Looking down the street, our protag is approached by the intimidating figure of the big blonde guy known as Shigeru Satek. With the most blank and expressionless face in the world, our hero just asks who the heck this guy is. A little offended, the thug tries to jog the kid's memory, reminding him that he took care of him back in their orphanage days. Racking his brain, the kid recognizes the piece of human trash who used to extort the others and tells him not to talk like their friends. Immediately, a dark flashback shows the big guy beating up a younger protagonist in a dark alley in the past. In the memory, the brute lifts the little kid by his collar, furious for being ratted out to the institution's director. Without a shred of pity, the aggressor lands a brutal punch right in the middle of the defenseless kid's face. Back in the present, our hero scoffs, asking if the guy's nose is healed since the last time he broke it, enraging the blondie. Trying to maintain his superior act, the brute runs a hand through his hair, hiding the rage that's about to explode. Full of swagger, the aggressor puffs out his chest and points to the shiny blue emblem on his shirt. Showing off his achievement, the big guy proudly reveals he was recruited by the famous Arajeri Guild. Leaning in to intimidate him, the blonde guy mocks him, guessing our protag is just some low-level hunter and threatens that the beating will be worse this time. Cold as ice, the Necromancer doesn't move a muscle and drearily responds that, for him, nothing has changed. Gritting his teeth, the thug finally loses his patience, ready to get violent right in the middle of the street. Winding up a punch, the blondie screams at the top of his lungs, telling the kid not to get so full of himself. Before the punch connects, a mysterious hand grabs the aggressor's wrist with relentless force. Interrupting the fight, the captain of the 7th Squad, a man named Rago Joman, tells his subordinate to cut the crap. Desperate to justify himself, the brute tries to explain the provocation but is immediately cut off by his leader. Staring intently at our hero, the captain proposes a change of scenery to settle their beef in an official duel under the system's rules. Mentally, the team leader thinks it's absurd for a brat to pick a fight knowing the weight of the guild's name. Manipulating the situation, the captain encourages the score settling, wanting them to work it all out with a clean fight. With a malicious smile, the blonde guy pretends to refuse, arguing it would be cowardly since the kid only recently became a hunter. Without a second thought, our prot ends the discussion and accepts the duel, his eyes overflowing with murderous intent. Caught completely off guard by the quick response, the guild duo looks dumbfounded by the rookie's courage. Flashing a sadistic little smile, the Necromancer returns the taunt, asking if the big guys got scared of the challenge. Foaming at the mouth, the blonde guy threatens our hero, warning him there's no backing out now. In a scene cut, the trio is already at the door of the gigantic official gym affiliated with the Arajeri Guild. Seen from above, the fighters take their positions in the circular arena, prepared for the start of the sanctioned confrontation. Cool as a cucumber, the kid reveals he's a priest class and drops the bomb that the brute will be fighting his draconian representative, Fafnir. Full of self-confidence, the blondie activates his body buffs and scoffs, asking if the big lizard is some kind of cheap summoning skill. Not taking the beast seriously, the aggressor tightens his grip on his weapon, guaranteeing that thing isn't going to save the kid's skin. With a magical crackle, the gym floor glows, activating the system's official dueling runes. In a flash, the interface scans the stats of everyone in the arena, measuring HP and defense to balance the fight fairly. Cold and lethal, the protagonist just watches as the panel announces the life protection barrier and declares the start of the beatdown. Straight to the gym, where magic runes light up, activating the system for the official duel. Full of swagger, Blondie cracks a sadistic smile as the panel measures up the fighter's stats. Cool and calculating, our MC just hears the warning that a protective barrier will activate against any fatal hits. Right off the bat, the big guy taunts him, laughing and asking if the kid's so scared he's gonna wet his pants. Playing it cool, the Necromancer just points to his ear, asking what the heck this guy is even talking about. From the shadows, Fafnir comments that he never imagined running into the famous Arjeri guild in a place like this. Wasting no time, the zombie dragon raises his fists, getting into a combat stance. With a look that could kill, the minion declares that against Arjeri, there's absolutely no reason to hold back. Our hero quickly kills the vibe, telling his summon not to end it all in just one hit because he wants to test something. Cracking a sadistic grin, the big lizard confesses that holding back is going to be the real challenge. Fuming at the disrespect, the brute charges forward, screaming that he's going to show the lizard its true place. At an absurd speed, the thug swings his spear, aiming right for the creature's chest. Totally calm, Fafnir takes a single step to the side, dodging the blade like it was nothing. Without backing down, the blondie activates his technique's third form, unleashing the spear's reflective flash. Surprised by the swift attack, the big monster's eyes go wide, feeling the pressure of the blow closing in. With a psycho look on his face, the attacker follows up with the technique's second form, launching a concentrated piercing strike. Outside the arena, Captain Joman is impressed, noticing his subordinate's reaction time is even faster than in training. But with an insane reflex, the dragon's scaly claw shoots out right toward the weapon's deadly tip. With a solid thud, the spear comes to a dead stop, leaving Blondie in shock, with no clue what just happened. With a ridiculous amount of effort, the thug grips the weapon's handle, realizing he can't move the spear a single centimeter. Full of pity, Fafnir scoffs, saying it's pathetic to attack without even thinking about the next move. Looking the enemy dead in the eye, the dragon informs him that if this were a real battle, he'd already be a goner. Suddenly, the big lizard remembers his master's order and apologizes, saying he was supposed to take it easy. In a smooth motion, the summon's closed fist lightly taps the brute's armor. The impact immediately generates a colossal wave of energy, sending the blondie flying through the air. Desperate from the pain, the attacker spits up blood as the sheer force of the blow crushes his ribs. Slowly, our MC approaches, remembering how this coward bawled like a baby when he got his nose broken way back when. With a wicked smile, our hero compliments his enemy for only screaming for a second, proving he's matured a little. Consumed by hatred, the fallen blondie curses the Necromancer with every ounce of strength he has left, giving him no time to rest. Fafnir gets into position again, ready to finish the job in the arena. Desperate, the brute swings his spear from top to bottom in a final, useless attempt to attack. Effortlessly, the monster's claw stomps down hard on the blade, pinning the weapon straight to the ground. Under the crushing weight of the summon, the gym floor simply shatters into 1,000 pieces. Caught flat-footed, Blondie's eyes widen as he loses the only line of defense he had. With a mocking laugh, the dragon points out that using the same move 2 times makes you as predictable as an open book. In the blink of an eye, a monstrous kick lands squarely on the opponent's leg. In that same instant, the knee bone shatters, making a horrifying cracking sound. In a total panic, the big guy's breath hitches as he feels the indescribable pain of the fracture. Towering over the arena, Fafnir stares down at the human trash and coldly declares that playtime is over. With a heavy hand in the air, the beast prepares to deliver the finishing blow without an ounce of mercy. Facing his certain end, the blondie cries in terror, knowing the system won't be able to handle that hit. From the stands, Captain Joman bellows at the top of his lungs, demanding they stop the fight right now. Covered in sweat, the leader jumps into the ring to save his subordinate's life. Satisfied with the interruption, our MC thinks to himself that they took the bait way too fast. A moment later, the luminous screen beeps, confirming the end of the match with an absolute victory for our boy. Kneeling beside his injured partner, the captain tells him to hang on, promising to call for a priest immediately. With his hands in his pockets, the kid points out, bold as brass, that they already have a priest right there with them. Annoyed, the leader retorts that the healing magic of a 1-star rookie will never fix broken bones. In a defiant tone, the suit asks how in the world the kid plans on fixing that kind of damage. Straight from his inventory, our hero pulls out a red vial, announcing he's going to use a medium-grade magic potion. In a surprised tone, the MC asks if they haven't seen the news about the mass production of these incredible potions. Firm in his refusal, the captain tells the kid to get lost, stating he doesn't need any charity from the winner. Completely ignoring the hissy fit, our boy pops the glass lid and tells the guy to just take the gift without complaining. With a psycho grin, the Necromancer pours the liquid, totally loving the fact that he's using his injured enemy as a living, breathing advertisement. As soon as the red elixir touches the torn skin, its absurd regenerative effect kicks in instantly. Completely in shock, the captain watches as his partner's shattered bone mends and returns to normal as if by magic. Consumed by greed, the leader is shaken to his core, realizing the priceless military power of that healing item. With his back turned, our MC pretends to walk away from the gym, letting curiosity eat the guys up from the inside. When able to stand the suspense, Joman begs to know where the kid managed to buy mass-produced medium-grade potions. With a dark, undeniable look of victory, our hero celebrates internally, knowing the fish has taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Eyeing his target, the kid deduces that to be the captain of the Arajeri Guild, the guy must be close to a 3-star rank. Straight to the point, our boy makes an offer he can't refuse, proposing an official fight against the leader, right there in the ring. Confident in his own talent, Joman gives an arrogant smile, guessing the first beatdown wasn't enough for the brat. To seal the deal, our MC promises to reveal the source of the potions regardless of the outcome, guaranteeing that this time, he'll fight for real. Once again in the giant arena, the system restores the cracked floor, setting the stage for the second clash of the night. As soon as the screen announces the start, the captain launches himself like a missile at the summon, giving it no time to breathe. With the fifth form of the Zephyr style activated, the man in the suit unleashes a sequence of precise and extremely sharp slashes. Upon impact with the thick scales, the sword's combo of strikes creates a true light show of sparks. On the panel, the system flashes a critical warning, showing that the continuous damage is melting through the lizard's defense efficiency. Under the relentless and painful assault, Fafnir roars to the sky, trying to endure the brutal punishment with his own body. Right after unloading the attack, the captain retreats and lands smoothly, maintaining the perfect posture of an elite warrior. Arms crossed, our MC looks completely unfazed, concluding that everything is going exactly according to his master plan. Mentally, our hero notes that Kashiwaji's style, focused on extreme speed, is useless in a heavy draconian body. Pleased with the thrashing, the kid smiles, knowing that if his summon runs into a fast enemy in the future, it'll be in the same tight spot. Facing the heat, the dragon raises its fists again as our MC decides to use the entire fight to force his ally to get used to being slow. With a confident smile on his face, our hero praises the beast's determination, confirming that this lizard is his perfect right-hand man. A moment later, the kid announces he's not just going to stand by and watch, extending his hand and activating the unholy blessing spell. Immediately, an insane, dark energy covers the entire body of the zombie dragon, who clenches his fists, ready to pummel his enemy into the ground.